Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, guys.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Okay, as we know that writing is a skill in English that must required for academic and workplace tasks. And the learners could use acceptable grammar, conventions, and also lexical choices to form ideas and thoughts in English as a foreign language into an intelligible text. In fact, writing is also considered the most difficult skill to be taught and learned. So, in this meeting, I am Yasminnabila, and two my friends are Siti Amalia Herdiana and Rica Lusiana Dewi. We would like to discuss about the use of genre-based approach to improve writing skill in narrative text. Next. Yeah, this is our content. The first is genre-based approach. Yeah, it includes the definition and the stage of GBA. The second is writing skill, which includes about the definition. And the third is narrative text. Uh, it consists about the definition, generic structure, characteristic, and also the example. Next. Yeah, genre-based approach. Genre-based approach, or GBA, is an approach which guides students to understand the social purpose, organization, and language features on every kind of text. As we know that each of texts has the social purpose that reflects its thematic, structure, or text organization and language features, namely grammar, vocabulary, and also the connectors. Next. Yeah, according to the linguists Derewianka and Gibbons, that are four stage of genre-based approach in the teaching writing using GBA. The first is building knowledge, the field. Uh, yeah, in this stage, aims to develop students' knowledge about the topic that will be written. In this stage also, the teacher can apply progressive brainstorming in order to recall students' prior knowledge, and the students are allowed to use the first language. For example, the teacher made some pictures and some kind of fact related to the topic are shown and become the students' guidance. And then the students discuss the vocabulary phrases, expression, which are used to tell about something or someone, introduce to the students. And the second is modeling of the text. This stage aims to guide students to gain knowledge about a particular genre. The students are introduced to be familiar with the purpose, organization, and language features of a particular genre. The teacher explained about the grammar and text organization. The third is joint construction of text. Yeah, at this stage, the teacher and students work together, um, to compare, to compose the text. And the topic at this stage isn't exactly the same as the one will be written for independent writing. The fourth is independent construction of text. Yeah, this is the last stage. In this stage, students already have the knowledge and skill to write independently. Before coming to this stage, the teacher will make sure that students have already gotten the competencies, and the students are asked to compose narrative text individually. Okay, the next slide will be present by Siti Amalia Herdiana.
Okay, after we know about the genre-based approach in understanding a text, so we also must know about skill in writing text. So, what is writing skill? Writing skill is the process of writing is engaging in planning, rewriting, and revision to improve their text, producing and working on multiple drafts and the use of writing conferences. Because it means that if the students want to make a text, they must know that skill before write a text. It is because writing has a purpose for each text. It is like express or reflects and analyze or interpretation and so on. And the next slide. The students has been famous with this text. This is a narrative text. So, what is narrative text? Narrative text is a text focusing specific participants which tells an interesting story and its social function to tell stories or past events and entertain or amuse the readers. So, this text has some types like legends, myth, very stories, and so on. And the next slide. If we want to make a narrative text, we must know the generic structures of narrative text. It is it has four generic structures. For the first is orientation. In the orientation sections, contains the introductions of a character in the story, time, and places it happened. And the second is complication. The sections contains an overview, complication, emergence of crises or problems experienced by the characters in the story to be solved. And the third is resolution. In the resolution, the resolution contain about how the character of the story to solve the existing problems in the complication. Usually, there is more than one for a complication resolution. And the last is coda. Uh, Actually, this generic structure is optional. It can called by reorientation, and uh, this is uh, the lesson from the story. And the next slide will present by Rica Lusiana Dewi.
Okay, now we continue about the characteristics of narrative text. The first is using action verb in the past tense form. For example, like climbed, turned, and brought, and so on. So the second is using certain nouns as pronouns, certain animals and object in the story. For example, the king, the queen, the fisherman, and so on. So the third is using adjectives which form the noun phrase. There the example like long black hair, two red apples, three fishes, and eight. So the fourth is using time and conjunction connectives to sequence events. For example, that then, before, after, soon, and eight. So the fifth is using adverbs and adverbial phrase to indicate the location of the incident or event. For example, that here in upon, heavily, ever, after, and so on. So the next slide, we talk about the example of narrative text. There are the orientation, the complication, the resolution, and coda. The first paragraph, there is the orientation. The orientation, we can find the sentences that contain who, when, where a story is set. Once there three fishes live in a pond. One evening, some fishermen passed by the pond and saw the fishes. So the second is complication. There the complication that tells about the beginning of the problem and usually involves the main character of the story. So the third is resolution. From the resolution is the end of the story or in the form of a solution to the problem that occurred. From the eldest of the fishes left the pond at very evening with his entire family. So the second fish saw the fisherman coming in the distance early next morning and left the pond at once with all his family. So the last is coda. Coda is like an epilogue. It's a narrative element that provides the conclusion to a story. Can contain moral lesson, advice, or teaching from the author. So the next slide is the conclusion. The conclusion is related to the findings of the study. It could be concluded that GBA is effective to increase the students' writing skill. And we can know the aspects of writing skill are shown that their score of each of them is increased after implementing this approach. And GPA is a more effective approach in teaching and learning in writing class because GPA had some stage for testing the students in increasing their writing. Okay, maybe that's all from us. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.